Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here with my all-time best friend, Justin Mcneil. He is honestly a pastor of like 48 different things at his church in City of Life in in Kissimmee, Florida. And I gotta just quickly go ahead and greet everybody real quick, bud.
As Chris said, my name is Justin Mcneil. I am an associate pastor in Central Florida. My wife and I are going on 10 years married, and we have a 4-year-old son, Malachi. And we lead, like he said, at City of Life Church in Orlando. We've launched a few of our locations, have done youth ministry, young adult ministry, but really it's just all about building the church. And I, in this context, am most proud to say that Chris Alessi is my friend. So that's all I got to say.
You know, everybody, Justin and I met at the beginning of my journey in youth ministry in general. And I sit here, dude, it's almost 9 years later, coming up on 10. And I have to say, I do not know where I would be if I didn't have a friend like you.
Same.
And we've talked about it. We actually just did a sermon for our young adult ministry together here. And we talked about how in 1 Peter 5, it says, resist the devil, standing firm in your faith, knowing, you know, that your brothers and sisters are going through the same things all over the world. And somehow, the way that I have firm faith and the way that I resist the devil is knowing that you and I are in this together.
Come on.
Blows my mind. Doesn't seem to add up, but you know, there are a bunch of youth pastors and young Christian leaders on this page, and they don't necessarily have Justins. So I'm just so thankful that I have you, that we get to do life together. I think we talk on the phone once every 2 months. That is the most life-giving call, and it like helps me for the next 2 months. And so I wanted to like introduce you to everybody. I hope that they pursue other people on this chat the way that we have a pursuit of friendship. But I also wanted to ask you to just kind of share some words of encouragement with everybody.
Yeah, I really feel so strongly right now that hearing how you and I are talking right now, I can remember sitting in environments. Everyone on the page has certainly been in a conference setting or been in some kind of setting where you've heard people say things like we just said and talk about friendship. And I know, because I was this person until this relationship, I know the slight amount of cynicism that can come up and say like, well, they're saying that because they have to, or they're saying that because they're the keynote speaker at their event. Like they have to say those things. But my perspective has changed a lot on that, because you can judge things from the outside from a place of cynicism, but when God actually brings something into your life that's life-giving, it starts to make a whole lot of sense. And so before I even dive in, I would say that you have to be really cautious of how you approach relationship and ministry. Yes, you have to be wise. Yes, you have to be cautious, but there's a difference between being cautious and closed. And for a long time, I lived closed and tried to just do what I did alone or with just the people that I led. But there is something egocentric about that, if I can just call it out, like that my friends are the people I lead. That's great. There should be friendship there. But if your friends are only the people that have to submit to you and have to honor you, then you aren't posturing yourself for iron sharpening iron. You need to have people that can just be alongside you, that are not responsible to submit to you, but rather just to walk with you in love and in friendship. And I think that's why communities like this one, like Chris has started. Chris has a gift for this. All of those phone calls, I'll tell you who starts them. Chris always calls me, and every time I see the name, I'm like, thank God he's wired for this, and I want to be more like him in that. But he has a gift to create communities like this. But you need it, but you can be in the right room, on the right Facebook group, with the right people, and still be closed. So you have to make the choice to start to open up. And many of us, I grew up in church and started leading from an early age, and that might be the story of a lot of people on here. Many of us are masters at leading, but we are novices at relating, because you learned the skills to lead early and were thrust into leadership because of the gift on your life and the call on your life, but didn't necessarily gain the skill sets to relate and to be open. But when I look to Jesus, I'm encouraged, because not only did he lead the masses, but he had 12 real friends who loved living life with him and traveling with him and doing things with him. They were happy to serve, but ultimately he said, hey, I need you around me. And I think the Son of God needing friendship speaks to how you and I need it. And if you're the type of person to say, well, I don't need it, if Jesus needed it, you need it. And so I encourage you to reconsider how you view relationship in your life. It's so important. But I don't even know where that came from. There's that.
Well,
I wasn't even what I was going to say.
I was having a training with our young adult core meeting the other day, about 9 people on the call. And I told them, I'm like, listen, guys, great followers make good leaders. Great followers make only good leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So, you made a comment about making sure, like, we're really good leaders, we're like pretty decent relators or terrible relators. I also would say, hey man, like, this season is showing us not only do we need friends, but I also need to recognize I better be a dang good follower.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to be a better follower than I am leader if I want to in any way lead anyone at all. And so I think relationship is kind of like the great equalizer, because it's so weird because there are sometimes I'm looking up and there's a group of people behind me looking to me for leadership. And there are other moments where my opinion does not matter.
Yeah.
And in fact, I go from the smartest guy in the room to the dumbest. And if I share my opinion one more time, I might not have a job. Relationship is that great equalizer that's like, okay, neither of those things. I get to just sit and talk to my friend and dude, I could just debrief. We said that on the call earlier. We're not really preaching to each other. We're just debriefing. And if I don't have that, I think I'd go crazy. And so I'm thankful for your friendship, and I'm thankful for what you're saying. You had even mentioned before we got on the call about how you would like to encourage other young leaders. Why don't you go ahead and do that for a second?
For sure. Yeah. So I was thinking about this verse in Acts 17. It's 26, and it says, "From one man, Adam, God made every man and woman from every race of humanity, and he spread us all over the earth. He set the boundaries of peoples and nations, determining their appointed times in history," which the theological implication there is that he chose Chris and me and you to be leading and loving and existing in 2020 during COVID-19. He set them, it's verse 27, he's done this so that every person would long for God, feel their way to him, and find him. For he is the God who is easy to discover. And it's through him that we live and function and have our identity. The old version says, in him we live and move and have our being. But he put us here for only a few reasons. If you're asking, why am I leading during COVID-19? When Chris was talking about, like, sometimes I feel like I'm leading. Well, when COVID-19 hit, I'm usually the guy that has like 10 plans and 20 opinions. This thing hit and I said, all right, Pastor, what are we doing? Like, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm grateful for senior pastors and founding pastors, but man, like, if you're wondering, why am I here and what do I do? If you want the strategy on how to lead through this time, I think Acts 17 just laid it out. Feel for him, search for him, and then find him. It starts like this. Sometimes you just have to like recalibrate and just start like grasping for, okay, I'm in this time. You chose me for this time. You didn't choose Peter or Paul. You chose Justin and Chris. So how do I find you in it? And then after I feel for you, when I seek you, how does my heart turn towards you in the middle of the pandemic? And then ultimately, how do I find you? How do I find God in this and then live and move and function and have our identity? I'm going to repeat it. In him, you live and function and have your identity. If everything's been stripped away, if youth group is closed, if your kids are not jumping on a Zoom call right now, if your church is having to close things down, you live and function and have your identity in Jesus. If your team is heading in 10 different directions, if it seems like none of your ideas are getting heard, if it seems like maybe even in your home, if you're newlywed or that you just have no concept of how to get through this, in Jesus, you live and function and have your identity. And as leaders, if we can't get back to that, then we're missing the point of all of this. And I believe if you've struggled through all of this, as you get back to finding that identity in Jesus, you're going to be able to minister and lead better than you ever have, because people need what God has blessed us with, the ability to live and function and have an identity in something that is never changing. So you better find it quick so that you can point others to that way. You're here for a reason, man. God chose you. He chose me to lead through this. So take a breath, realize you were picked, you were called off the bench for this, and God has put within you everything that's needed to lead his church through this time.
Dude, I'm just thinking as you're talking, man, I'm just thinking, I'm going back to when I'd show up to your services, Neo Youth Culture. It was just like,
Oh my gosh.
bro, it was the coolest thing. And I'm just ridiculously thankful for you and the word and the way you hear God and the way, dude, it's just like the way you serve your pastors, the way you serve your wife, the father that you are, the friend that you are to me. It's just like, man, if we never spoke, but I just got to watch you, the genuine authenticity. I know it's a double entendre. I don't care. The genuine authenticity of your faith and the way that you live, it encourages me like you wouldn't believe. And I actively say this all the time. I have two of the most amazing parents on the planet. I am beyond lucky. They happen to be my pastors. They're the most amazing pastors on the planet, short of everybody else's pastors. They are the most they're unbelievable pastors. With that, I still needed my youth pastor.
Yeah.
I needed him bad.
For sure.
I had unbelievable parents and pastors, and I still needed my youth pastor. There are two blessings that I can count right now in my life that I would not have if it wasn't for my relationship with him. And that doesn't include my relationship with him. I'm talking about two tangible things that I have that I wouldn't have. And then I look and say, I still needed you.
Wow.
And if I needed that, how much more do our teams need that?
My gosh.
How much more do our youth need that?
Yes.
So it's like, holy crap, if they have needs, probably more than us, then I have to be an answer to that need. But if I'm going to be an answer to that need, I got to get my needs taken care of.
We got to figure it out quick.
And that comes through.
It could be a matter of life and death, spiritually or even practically. Like, we have to figure it out and then lead our students, lead our people there, because now more than ever, they need it. And so we have to figure it out for ourselves and say, hey, come over here. I found it.
It's the perfect time to call that friend, that other ministry friend. They don't have to have a bigger youth group than you or small. They don't have to be, they just need to be
None of us have anything right now.
So we got Instagram followers, and even those are crap. This is the perfect time for anyone watching to pick two mentors.
Yes.
A mentor, I don't care, a friend. Pick somebody and call them and be as real as possible. If correction comes on the other side of that phone call, listen to it. If revelation comes on the other side, who cares? What you need, we need each other, because somehow firm faith, resisting the enemy, is on the other side of me having a Justin.
Come on.
And Justin having a me.
I love that.
I think, and I also just want to say this to all the youth pastors watching. You're probably really nervous about how many kids might be coming back when you have your first service. I'm going to encourage you to think about something completely different. Think about how many kids right now are in need of the church.
Yes.
And how many handwritten notes delivered under the random doors just saying, hey, our youth group is praying for you. How many school executives and administrators need to hear that the churches around them are praying for them?
Come on.
Many young institutions right now need to know there are youth groups that care for their kids. Don't spend another minute being nervous about how many of your kids show up.
No way, man.
Occupy an open space right now of leadership and find a way to go and pray for every teacher. Find a way to go and communicate to different schools saying, I want to take 3 people with masks and gloves, and I want to pick up the trash around your school. I just walked into our church, Justin. It's a mess. You know why? No one's been here.
Right.
The cleaning crews, imagine schools. Go pick up a school. Go do something, because man, if you inject leadership into that right now, there will be so many kids who are 30, 40, and 50 one day saying, man, the reason I'm saved is some youth pastor during COVID-19
with a mask and a glove. They come on.
They even told me they were praying for me. I always believe involvement increases commitment. This is
Yeah.
the perfect time to get involved in your team's life. Show up with a team shirt, a gift to each member of your team, and say, "I love you, I'm praying for you," and then leave.
Yeah.
I'm so involved. And so I don't know where that came from. That wasn't supposed to be what this call is. But, dude.
Yeah, hold on. I actually I feel like it needs to be said. So much of what we do as leaders is saying, hey, come get involved in my thing. But right now, you have a chance to say, hey, let me get involved in your life. We don't have this chance very often. We can't do normally what we can do right now. So get involved the way that you want them to be involved and watch what happens.
That's so stinking true. Dude, we got to do this again. I don't want these videos to get too crazy long right now, just because we're all being overloaded with content these days.
Every pastor on the earth is live every night. By the top of my Instagram feed, I'm like, oh my gosh.
You know what we need more than that? We need a live friend.
Yes, let's go.
We reach out to people, and dude, I really don't know where I'd be without our friendship, man.
I feel so much the same.
Some seasons where I could have really spiraled out of control into self-pity and thinking that my unique situation here was worse than everyone else's. And it was talking to you and that really brought me back every time. So when I go to God and I say, Lord, these are the things I'm thankful for, my relationship with you is definitely one of them, man. So I love you. Thank you for this. Thank you for everything you've done today. And
thank you for what you're doing with this group, man, and for the people that are in it. I'm excited to see how the gift that's in you is going to be poured out in them. And thank all of you for leaning in. Trust me, it's going to be something that blesses you.
You're amazing, Justin.
Love you all. Love you, man.